advise a way forward. It refers to a series of buildings it refers to a list of buildings within scope for the office rationalisation project, and that list is set out in Appendix A. There is a series of appendices to the report. Appendix B covers the buildings that have been identified for retention, and it raises various issues for a number of those buildings that need to be addressed. One of the consistent issues is the extent of backlog maintenance, which members are aware of across the estate. And now, with clarity on what is proposed to be retained, it's intended to bring a further report back in due course with an action plan for the improvement of retained buildings, and in due course a bid for the capital programme will be made. Appendix C then deals with three specific buildings which have been identified as not being required in terms of rationalisation strategy. That's Seacombe Municipal Building, Bedington Town Hall, and Bedington Town Hall Annex. And the recommendation there is that those buildings should be vacated and cleared, and the sites retained pending their future reuse. Pennant House is identified within Appendix A as a building under review. There are strong local feelings, it's fair to say, in terms of the future of this building, and in particular, the future of the one-stop shop within it. There was a special area forum meeting on the 6th of December, and there's a further ordinary meeting of the area forum next week, where again, Pennant House and the associated buildings are on the agenda for discussion. There has been some interest that's come forward in potential asset transfer of one or more of the buildings, and that will be followed up. So this report makes no proposals in terms of Pennant House, Mayor Hall and 65 The Village, but it's intended that a further report will be brought back to a future meeting of Cabinet, and as I say, those expressions of interest that have been made will be explored. Appendix D to the report deals with Birkenhead Town Hall. We previously, as members will be aware, been out to the market to see the extent of interest in this building. And what is now proposed is that it is reused in part for office accommodation within an overall multi-use building. This is a round building, grade 2-star listed, in an extremely prominent position in the historic Hamilton Square. We need to bring it back into use. We need to address the disrepair. And it's potentially a really high quality venue. So the proposal is, as I say, that we do bring it back into use, and we see other uses to complement the office use that we will put into it. Cabinet's already committed to invest in Wallasey Town Hall, and the scheme is now being moved forward in terms of the fire escape and access. And Wallasey Town Hall and Birkenhead Town Hall can be used to facilitate the city's result in the vacation of the South Annex. Section 4610 of the report summarises that series of moves, and this gives us a starting point then to consider how we might vacate a further major building or buildings and therefore reduce our office space. The list that is within scope then brings in on the buildings that are under consideration for vacation. They are Hamilton Building, Finance Municipal Building, and the North and South Annexes. And Appendix E goes into some detail in terms of the issues affecting those various buildings. The Hamilton Building is an old school, as members will be aware. It's been well maintained. The building itself might be considered inefficient to use, so a major ICT hub within it. However, it forms the headquarters of CYPD, and there are many reasons why it works extremely well for that department at present. We have, as Appendix E indicates, had some market interest in that building. But at this stage, it's a very early expression of interest, and it needs to be followed up. So I couldn't say at the moment that we could dispose of that and that we have an end purchaser ready and waiting to buy it. But that is something that can be explored in the medium to longer term. The second building, Finance Municipal Building, houses the Revenues and Benefits Service as noted in this appendix, and of course that service will be significantly affected by the unified tax credit system as and when that comes in. The third element of the are relatively modern buildings. They were identified for retention when we decided to sell Westminster House. They do need significant refurbishment if we're going to keep them. We have done some work to the south annex that will enable us to intensify its use, but I am clear that there is a comprehensive scheme of refurbishment needed for those buildings if we are going to keep them for the long term. Currently, there is provision in the capital programme to do that. An important issue is that both buildings contain asbestos, and in emptying the building we have to seriously consider the issue of removal of that asbestos. Again, this issue is flagged up in Appendix E. At the time we previously decided to retain the annex and dispose of Westminster House, the pros and cons of disposal of both buildings in Birkenhead and Wallasey were considered. And Appendix E covers that point and raises some of the issues again that remain valid if we are to empty and ultimately demolish the annexes. Finally, in terms of Appendix E, it covers the options with estimated costs, estimated savings, and summarises those in a table, from which it can be seen that if we're driven by net revenue savings as the most important factor, then the most advantageous option to us in those terms is to vacate and demolish the north and south annexes. At that point, it's about guidance really and a decision on the way to go in terms of taking out major buildings. The issue was considered, this report was considered by excellent overview scrutiny on the 31st of January this week, and comments have been made to be brought here from that committee. Members commented that progress has been slow in developing a strategy and options appear to be limited for target reductions in overall space. There was support for the retention of Birkenhead Town Hall and a wish to see that planning policy could be aligned to enable us to deal with the disposal of the sites at the Bennington complex, because Bennington Town Hall and Bennington Town Hall Annex are currently affected by the planning policy. The committee, in summary at the end, reaffirmed its previously expressed view that refurbishment and intensification of use of the annexes is the preferred option. Those were a summary of the comments made.
Okay, I'm going to get you in.
Firstly, thank you for the report, because it's a huge report and it's been a great deal of work gone into it. When you look at the huge amounts of the impact on so many people, to actually produce a report of this sort and look at that many different variables is a little bit like a lateral chess. I mean, the complications are quite enormous. I suppose my instinct is to go for the money and get the two down at once, look at the financial benefits in that. But I think Cabinet has to weigh against that the long-term possibilities, the variables, whether we should keep the option open of having one of them, even though it's a little bit, it is more expensive for a longer period of time. It's not quite as cut and dry as it seems at first sight. I think we really have to go over that a little bit.
Okay, I mean, I do welcome the comments on the scrutiny committee. I do think we need to be seen by people who look at us from outside. But the fact is that we are, in terms of numbers of people, in terms of numbers of people, we are a shrinking organisation, and we cannot continue sensibly to occupy as many buildings as we have. I do like the report, but there are certain conundrums in it. I like the way it's spaced out now into short-term aims and longer-term aims. I think there is general agreement from Cabinet to take everything in the list of short-term aims, 0 to 2 years, other than the resolution in and around Penny's House complex. If, and I understand the feelings of the local people, they have little or no great attachment to the municipal Brighton Town Hall and the Brighton Town Hall Annex, irrespective of the plan issues. They see their village centre, if you like, as moving around and permeating around some of the more historic buildings, Mayor Hall, Kent House, and this strange property known as 65 Bedington Road. So our view is that if there's a willingness, and I say this with trepidation, because you know how we love our buildings and will, trepidation that we would accept. Obviously, the actions are underway to refurbish Wallasey Town Hall. Liscard Municipal, I think there's a general agreement that we may move out of there, and one of the latest reports does open up options as well. Complete, or at least make progress in taking one of the annexes down. That makes absolute common sense to me, given the issues around that. In and around the issues around Pennant House, we've got a sort of resolution that we would like to move around there. Okay? Cabinet recognises the important role of Pennant House, Mayor Hall and 65 the village play in the cultural heritage of the borough and indeed Brighton. Say that in the resolution. Mention Brighton by name. Cabinet believes that these buildings should be maintained to a satisfactory level to allow public and voluntary organisations to continue to use and enjoy them. Cabinet has also made proposals from the community to take the responsibility of running these buildings under the council asset transfer policy. The public of Brighton have made it quite clear that they wish the one-stop shop to continue to operate from Pennant House, and Cabinet would wholeheartedly support this view. But officers continue to consult the residents and local community groups with a view to agreeing a developmental plan for these buildings. Okay? So that gives some guidance. I think from past experience, if we were with officer support, with local residents and local businesses, there may be a way of using that little critical mass of buildings in a fairly imaginative way to where everyone gets something out of it, including some private, possible mixture of private and public tenants within that small complex. So that gives some clear guidance about the way forward for that. In terms of the 3 to 5 year proposal, I think we can all agree that the way to maintain grade 2 list, I think this is grade 1 listed or grade 2 listed buildings such as Wallasey Town Hall, given the experience of Birkenhead Town Hall, is to indeed actually occupy them and use the asset as best you can. And as Wallasey is the civic centre of the borough, we would certainly agree to greater use proposals for Wallasey Town Hall as a methodology of protecting this fine building. And we would seek further clarification in and around the requirements of the Birkenhead buildings. So in terms of clear guidance you're wishing to come from this, I think that's the work short term that we would like to see taking place. I think this is a moving feast because as we do know as an organisation, sadly we have a massive amount of money to save in the future. Who knows what the size or the look of this organisation would look like beyond the current budget perspective, indeed 5 years hence. I do hope the economy recovers to the point where there is more public money around for building new buildings. So at the moment, I hope is that enough guidance for you as officers to move forward with the plan? Is that okay? So we're clearly not saying not 2 annexes down. We want to further report back on the other annex about what the picture will look like in that time frame. But I think then releasing assets and making a commitment to those in the immediate future, I think that is the best guidance as Cabinet's fair to give at this moment. Is that agreed by okay? Okay. Moving on. Item 11, which is review of major contracts.
Madam Chair, included within the current year's budget is a review of the 50 largest contracts council